Next up, we have our screenwriting faculty, Rasheed Newson. Rasheed is the author of My Government Means to Kill Me, which examines the political and sexual coming of age of a young gay Black man in New York City in the mid-1980s. The novel is a 2023 Lambda Literary finalist for gay fiction and was named one of the 100 notable books of 2020 by the New York Times. Rasheed is also a television drama writer, producer, and showrunner. Along with his television writing partner, TJ Brady, he co-developed and is an executive producer of the drama series Bel Air. Rasheed and TJ have also worked on The Chi, Animal Kingdom, and Narcos, among other drama series. He lives with his husband and their 2 children in Pasadena. Thank you, Rasheed.
Thank you. Hello. So happy to be here doing this reading. To describe myself, I am a middle-aged gay Black man, peanut butter complexion, shaved head. I'm no longer at the height of my beauty, but I'm in that era where people tell me I look good for my age. I'm going to pause for laughter, even though I can't hear it. Behind me, bookshelf, chessboard, my husband's poster of Hereditary. Yeah, that's the story. Oh, another thing about me. My agent says I should mention that I could use more followers on Instagram. I'm at rasheed.newson.author. All right. I will be reading from the novel I'm currently working on. Its present title is There's Only One Sin in Hollywood. The book traces the rise and fall of a homosexual Black actor named Xavier in the 1950s and 60s, who undergoes a political awakening years before Stonewall. My intention is to examine and pay tribute to the people who take a stand for a political movement before it catches fire, the people who end up vanishing from our understanding of political history because they are buried in unmarked graves. The novel's narrator is another gay Black man named Aaron, who was a Hollywood fixer, writing his reflections in 1971. He uses language that would have been common in 1971 when describing sex workers and his fellow homosexuals. This excerpt takes place in 1960 when Xavier is a Hollywood star, still in the closet. Okay, let's get on with it. To cover Xavier during his escapades in Griffith Park, to the Palace Turkish baths, or along the run in Pershing Square, I drew the parameters and devised a system that would ensure that any gossip about him slinking off to frolic with Nancy boys never got far around town. Xavier's favorite sex spot was one that he introduced me to, Griffith Park. It was a long drive from Westwood in those years before the expansion of the Ventura Freeway. We got to talking during the small hours of the night, and since we weren't facing each other in the car, and the darkness shadowed us, we grew honest as we hadn't dared before. In Xavier's estimation, he was a legend of the Griffith Park scene, of which I'd heard rumors. I pictured a free-for-all of men fucking men in the woods without abandon. The reality turned out to be quite impressive. The whole operation possessed defensive layers, like a beehive. Finding the cruising zone was the opening test. There weren't a lot of street lamps in Griffith Park. I never would have found my way if Xavier hadn't shown me, and he wouldn't have been able to show me if he hadn't been led there by another gay man. In this way, all the homos in the park could be mapped together in a queer family tree, branch after branch, taking you initiate by initiate into the past until you reach the founding faggots of the scene. Xavier learned the lay of the land from none less than Sal Mineo, the Italian pretty boy actor who made a name for himself as a fey teenage boy, lusting over James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. No one in the business thought Sal was doing that much acting. It was usually nearly 1 a.m. when we snaked along Vermont Avenue into Griffith Park and glided into the secret dirt lot. At least half a dozen cars were already present. A score of bicycles lay abandoned on their sides in the grass. There was an order at work. Men who wanted sex sat behind their steering wheels. Male prostitutes dotted the perimeter of the woods. This was the first level of give and take. Xavier always ignored this meat market, dismissing the hissing and catcalls from the Johns and the lip-linking and crotch-grabbing among the pros. He crossed the first line of trees until he reached the official hiking trail and turned right, walking along the path uphill for 30 yards. Then he'd go left leaving the trail and descending a rather steep, rocky slope. Once he reached flat land again, the woods were dense, and weaving through them was like making your way through a maze with multiple offshoots and dead ends. This maze belonged to the masturbators, who silently roamed the grounds, pairing off in a group of 2 or 3. Occasionally, they'd circle up if a show pony of a man presented a prized endowment. Xavier didn't stop here either unless he wanted to encourage a guy to accompany him deeper into the park. On the other side of the maze was a clearing that led to a jagged base of Mount Hollywood. Stick close to the mountain, and no one on the trail above can see what's going on below in the pockets and folds that provided protection and escape for the men who aims to go all the way. Xavier knew how to play his cards. He'd pause in the clearing, remove his t-shirt, and squeeze part of it into the back of his jeans, not that there was much room between his flesh and the denim. The men by the mountain and in the maze sized him up, and the bold one stepped forward into the clearing in the hopes of being the first to touch him that night. Xavier would take his pick. Whether by original design or through trial and error, the gay men in the park had arranged themselves in a two-way protection system. It was rather genius. For instance, when attempting to raid the scene, the police tipped off their approach to Johns and Pros in the dirt lot just by using headlights on their squad cars. The men among the trees decoupled if high beams sliced through the dark before reaching the secret turn. When the cops did roll into the dirt lot, the Pros scattered. Some took off on their bikes. Others hid in the woods. One young German climbed trees as quick as a squirrel. He waited in the high branches until the police left. The experienced Johns placed their hands on their steering wheels. A lot of them kept telescopes in their trunks. So when the cops questioned why they were in the park in the middle of the night, they had a prop to go along with their answer. I love astronomy. Thank you for listening.